I want to pull up this tweet here from Benny Johnson. Savage. Canadian Conservative leader puts final nail in Trudeau's coffin in Parliament in front of the whole world. This is a truly epic 30-second smackdown. And the reason I think this clip is important is that it shows for all of the bad that's been happening in Western countries, there is still an active resistance speaking up and saying no. Listen to this. This is in relation to the truckers' protest, the Freedom Convoy, the Great Honkening, and how Trudeau and Canada lied, smearing these people. Listen to this. Mr. Speaker, and I apologize. Let me actually fix the audio.
I do get very defensive of Canadians who are outside today, patriotic, peace-loving Canadians who are called misogynist and racist by the Prime Minister. So again, I will ask the Prime Minister, who, may I remind this House, wore blackface on more times than he can remember, apologize to the peace-loving, patriotic Canadians who are outside right now just asking to be heard. Will he speak to them?
And then they all stand up and clap. So just to quickly summarize, she said, he smeared these people, these peaceful protesters, a prime minister, and then you hear someone actually say blackface prime minister. And then she says a prime minister who's worn blackface more times than he can remember has the nerve to smear and insult these working class people. So when we hear these stories about how really bad China is and how it got to that point, we can see similar things happening here. We're actively resisting. Up in Canada, they've got people, obviously, with the Freedom Convoy, the Great Honkening, people are actively resisting. In the U.S., we're getting stories now that maybe in the U.S. there's going to be some Great Honkening protests, some trucker stuff. So I'm fairly optimistic, to be honest. I think we're going to resist all this.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you're optimistic. We have no place to go.
Well, also, you're running for office. So, there we go. Even more optimistic.
Well, I hope so. I'm glad. I'm glad I can make some difference. I feel it's my calling to do this. When I feel my country is becoming like China, it's like, hell no. How about my 3 adult children? How about my grandchildren? How about all the freedom lovers?
Let me ask you, though. In China, are there people who are from America going over there and being like, we've got to make sure China stays like China because it's becoming too much like America with freedom?
Yeah, our businesses.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have seen the U.S. consulate office staff and families wanting to leave China now because they cannot stand the zero COVID policy.
But are there Americans who defected to China who love communism and want to live under that, speaking in the media, being like, America's terrible and China's so good?
I don't remember any. That's why I think we need volunteers. So they communist professors from this country and social justice warriors, please go to China.
We would love it. Send them over there.
Yeah, I will pay for it.
I know you will.
You do see, though, if you turn on Chinese state media, so CGTV, they used to call it CCTV9, but they changed it to CGTV. You will see Westerners on there, American and British professors in some cases, who are going on that are delivering these essential CCP talking points on these things, talking about, it's so great that China has the Olympics.
Yeah, paid.
It's so wonderful. Yeah, they're all being paid.
Yeah, they're making money.
And you track it down, and they had some maybe adjunct assistant faculty position somewhere at some college that nobody's ever heard of. Yet when they go to China, they're feted as this great American scholar, and here they are, and they are paid to push the company line. And we see this again and again and again. This is why there is an actual elite merger going on. And it isn't even just, there was that Harvard professor who was Charles Lieber, who was finally convicted. He hasn't been sentenced yet, but you're seeing some of the stuff with MIT, the scientists at GSK who just got arrested in Philadelphia area, who were digging into, of course, monoclonal antibodies. So this has been going on more and more and more. And yeah, there are people who are doing it, but I don't necessarily know if they're doing it because they believe it or they're just being paid.
Well, remember the Confucius Institute? How naive we were. Allow a Chinese government-funded organization called Confucius Institute go into our colleges, set up schools in middle school, high school to teach our children about China and glorify China. Yeah. And until they wake up, it's like 15 years later, they have infiltrated China, United States, Canada, Australia, and now you know what happened in Australia? And you got Hong Kong protesters, right, to support Hong Kong student movement. You got pro-Beijing people, and they were fighting in EU, and they're fighting in Australia. Two sides are equal. It's like, Wow, communists are in the Western democracy countries everywhere.
Yeah,
I should just point out with people like LeBron James and Mark Cuban, and even I think Elon Musk has made some positive statements about China as well. Maybe they're not just in China, going on Chinese shows and being like, man, China's so great. And when I see China becoming more like America, I say, we have to stop this. We have to make, but you have LeBron James, you have the NBA, you have American companies. So it's probably worse.
So Elon, and I think I talked about this before last time I was on the show, he's got his Twitter, and on his Twitter, he'll be very, he almost like libertarian sounding sometimes, right, on his Twitter account. But Elon's also got a WeChat account and he's got a Weibo account. So this is Chinese social media, and he'll go on there and he's congratulating the CCP on their 100-year anniversary. He's congratulating the Chinese government. He's opening his new Tesla showroom where in Xinjiang, in the actual province where the Uyghurs are all being locked up. So, just something to show that, he's clearly got a different message depending which audience he's talking to.
So what ends up happening here in the United States? Are we going to see active resistance? When we look over at Quebec, we have the trucker protest, we have the Freedom Convoy. They're pulling back the vax tax. They're worried about social cohesion. But there are some countries in Europe that are doubling down, like Austria, and they've made the vaccine compulsory. I'm wondering, what happens here in the United States? Because I just don't see at this point how you could possibly unite the left and the right. The barrier is solidified. They believe completely different things. They will not listen to a word you say. It is just two sides with no middle ground.
I can unite at least the people of New Hampshire and the country, because I'm the inconvenient minority who knows the strengths, exception in the United States, but also knows the division of society that caused by government and the media colluding together to divide people.
Yeah.
But I agree. But I mean, look, they say the funny point that was brought up to us in a super chat was that the left claims black people can't be racist, but Candace Owens is racist. I just feel like there is no compromising.
And Whoopi Goldberg is perfectly fine.
I know. Right. Look, Roseanne Barr gets fired from her show for making an off-color joke. Whoopi Goldberg outright makes crazy statements about the Holocaust, and they're like, well, yes.
All we have to
whatever.
do is speak to people who are confused, independent, in the middle, that this kind of division is very dangerous to our country and our children, because it's a typical communist tactic. Like by Mao, he separates people into oppressor versus oppressed. Sounds familiar today?
Yes, it does. Yep.
And the 5 black classes under oppressor, and 5 red classes under oppressed. Then going through struggle sessions and get people hate each other, and they control all the media. Remember, Xinhua News Agency was a private media company when the CCP founded 1920s. Later, they become the largest propaganda machine in the world. So I don't buy into our is big tech, they're just private company. Are you sure? 100% private? No government pressure, no government investment, and no PCs? No, look at the Xinhua News Agency. So we have to I want to treat people with respect. I know both sides sometimes, I think we need to tone down a little bit to say, I respect you opinions, even though I don't agree with you, but I'm willing to listen to you and have conversation with you.
Well, it's interesting because even these large social media companies in the organizations we refer to as big tech, many of them have investment from In-Q-Tel, which is actually a United States government-run venture capital firm. What I would like to ask you, Lily, is have you had any success at reaching Americans who identified as communists or socialists as opposed to the people in the center?
I give you an example. I have been going to colleges for past 4 years to speak to students. Mm-hmm. When I went to West Virginia, right here, the university, one Bernie Sanders supporter come to listen to my story, my talk. He stayed for a long time. 2 weeks later, he went back to Turning Point USA organizer and host to say, please tell Lily, she changed my mind.
Amazing.
Wow.
And now he joined the Turning Point USA.
Wow.
Government sucks, and I realized it's the government.
You didn't ask her to say that. That was
I don't think the Republican Party is the answer. I think it's got to be the people getting out and voting in the primaries, voting locally. I say it like whatever it is. If you don't know what it is, I remember seeing, in Chicago, it was like vote for comptroller, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. But you've got to know what it is. You've got to vote for these people, because what happens is even your school board ends up getting taken over by Marxists, communists, far leftists, and we've seen this in West Virginia. People from the DC area that are ultra woke, far left, move out there specifically to get elected to school boards so they can start indoctrinating kids in conservative areas, in moderate areas, in apolitical areas. That's what they want to do. They want to spread that message. So you've got to pay attention to who these people are. You got to know who you're voting for. You got to vote local. You got to vote for your state rep, your state senator. You got to vote in the primaries, because you're running in the primary. And if people want someone like you to win, they got to go out in the primaries to vote.
Yes.
Otherwise, you get neocon establishment Republicans.
Yes, and you cannot be afraid. You cannot be afraid to call white supremacist, racist. You have to reject that. Those people who call you that, they just don't know the history. If they're young, or if they do that, it's a Marxist, communist tactic. Don't be afraid of name calling. We have to counter-strike to say you are Marxist.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.